Call the York County Board of Commissioners meeting to order, please. Ask everybody to rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and happy Halloween if you're so into that. Welcome to the York County Board of Commissioner meeting, October 31st, 2023. Roll call, please.
Gross.
Present.
Bear.
Present.
Ziegler.
Present.
Sykes.
Present.
Overmeyer.
Present. Open meetings law is posted on the south side of our chambers. It is in the hallway outside of our chambers. It is also on our website. Proof of publication was in the News Times. Date is that, Kelly?
October 26th.
October 26th.
Yep.
And also on our website, review and approve the minutes of our October 17th Board of Commissioner meeting.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Gross.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, we need to adopt today's agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bear.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Officials forum.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Don't have much to report other than we are just doing what we always do, hauling gravel, blading roads, and trying to clean ditches and fix roads. That's kind of where we're at.
Very good.
So nothing too earth-shaking and important at this point in time.
Okay. Any questions of Harv this morning? Getting ready for winter, I assume.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
When it got cold, we was ready. We tried to be prepared all the time. And yeah, for whatever comes up, we try to be ready.
Okay.
So the north side gravel pile moves to the south
Yes,
and the west goes to the east?
yes. They're supposed to be working on them now, getting them over there.
Thanks, Harv.
So, you bet.
Any other officials this morning? Public. Public is welcome to come up, make comment if they would like to at this point in time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Dustin Marble with the Omaha Public Power District. Thank you for your time here this morning. I just wanted to provide the board a brief update from our community conversation that OPPD hosted here on Thursday, October 26th, down in McCool Junction related to the K Junction Solar Project. The purpose of the meeting really was to talk with community members about the project and introduce members to the OPPD team. And the public really was encouraged to partake and interact with our table hosts. The meeting lasted just slightly over two hours with about 100 attendees from the community in addition to the OPPD staff. The meeting included a really healthy and pragmatic conversation where really all viewpoints were welcomed. We're pouring through a lot of the feedback that we gathered from that meeting, which included a lot of concerns and perspectives and hopes for the project. And our aim is to continue to have more interaction, more meetings like that, so that the community really does feel engaged as we kind of progress with this. During the conversation, OPPD's Vice President of Systems Transformation, Brad Underwood, had an opportunity to address a lot of the specific topics, but we recognize that this is a very complex topic as we continue the discussions and interactions to remain transparent with the community. We're really grateful and appreciative of the turnout. We think that everything went extremely well and we're encouraged by that progress. I definitely would like to extend the opportunity for anybody that has any continued questions or comments to reach out to me directly, or feel free to go to our K-Junction Solar page on oppdcommunityconnect.com. In addition to that, I'll be around here after the meeting today if anybody has any questions about it. But other than that, very excited and appreciate your time. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dustin. Anybody else from the public would like to comment at this point in time?
Probably should have come up during the officials forum, but if I missed.
Sure.
Nathan Hines, Deputy, County Zoning Administrator, just wanted to let the board know November 13th, we are having a zoning meeting for the proposed solar regulations. It'll be at the Holthus Convention Center at 6 p.m. My understanding is it will be open for public comment, and then at the end, the zoning board will give a general recommendation to this board if you guys should approve them or deny them, and then at that point, it'll go to you guys, and I'll be in touch probably soon after that, but that meeting will happen before the next commissioners meeting. I just want to let you guys know that is happening on the 13th.
Okay. Thanks, Nate. I assume that the public, there has been, it's been out in the paper.
It's going out.
Or going out.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I have posted it at 4 different places as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to anybody else from the public that'd like to comment at this point in time. Good morning.
Good morning, Jim Jackson, 907 Road 2, Fairmont, 11 Hayes Township. This is my own personal opinion, information, whatever. This coming weekend will be the second anniversary of one of my favorite memories of EDF. That'll be the start of rifle season for deer on Saturday the 5th, is it? We always winter a bunch of cows, and we had the cows turned out. So one of my tasks as I get up in the morning is to go around this, drive around and make sure the fence is up and the cows are in. And I noticed in this one field, there's a crossover car parked there and a pickup with a service box on it. Well, maybe they're hunting deer, but that's kind of a screwy place in the middle of a sydney patch on the side of the hill. When I go around the evening check, there are a bunch of flags and so forth. Well, I did notice the people getting out of the vehicles, and they had on fluorescent vests, but they were green. They weren't hunters. So anyway, that was my first encounter with strangers in the field in my neighborhood. Then another great idea was in March, we had 17 flights over Hayes Township with this airplane with windows. And to this day, we still have no virtual picture of what this is going to look like. How many million panels we're going to have. And then the other thing was, Joe and I went to Fort Dodge to look at that beautiful thing, and I've told you that before. You should go look at that project. They were complete 850 acres in one place, right by the city. But anyway, then my faith in government kind of falters a little. I was in the Marine Corps and I served at Camp Lejeune. So I don't have any ailments that I even think are remotely connected to that, but the Marine Corps birthday is coming up in 10th, to be 284 years old. But Camp Lejeune is a big place, over 100,000 acres, 17 miles of ocean shore. And we're contaminated by some of the same things that York is. They had, evidently, the dry cleaners poured some stuff down the storm sewer, and we had a common water system. I served at Camp Geiger, that where I had advanced infantry training, and then my MOS school at Fort Alice Bay. everybody had their own water tower, but the water came from the same place. The other contaminant was from the motor pool where they washed things, but the government throwing money at it. You can get $100,000, but they couldn't agree on how much money the person or the lawyer that you hired to prove that you got what you got from June. They didn't set any parameters on that money. You can they could get from anywhere from 2/3 down for what the money you're gonna collect. So, another point, the government owns 20% of the land in the United States. They ought to be able to find a few places for solar panels. Maybe you should have, everybody wants us to just turn over and we don't need any setbacks or anything. I would say that most of those people that say that, what would be your answer to the question, if it was by your house, by your business, by your church, by your golf course, by your ball field? Thank you for your time and
Thanks, Jim.
Godspeed to you. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public this morning? Willard?
Willard Peterson, 514 Road 13, York, Nebraska, but I'm actually from Bradshaw. Talked to the post office why I don't have a Bradshaw address. I am just going to make a general comment. I was extremely concerned about the topic of appointing or not appointing people to the zoning commission, and I still am extremely concerned.
Thank you, Willard. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, Dina, do you have court today?
No.
Do you have some time
Yeah.
because I want to get right to that. I know he's here from work and he wants to get back to work, so if I'll let you hang on just a little bit.
Okay.
And
Upstairs.
yeah, we can do that. We have another executive session that we have to do today too, so I mean, if you have time, we can give you a call when we get done with the other one. Okay, that'd work. Thank you, Dina. Let's go ahead and take care of vendor and payroll claims here quick. If anybody, it was smaller, obviously, it's kind of our third one of the month, so there was no additional claims to my knowledge that were added to it. Anybody see anything else that I missed, possibly?
Move to approve vendor and
Thank you,
payroll.
Daniel.
claims.
Second. Take your pick.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Brooks.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Okay, and I do want to jump down and like say, take care of Mr. Gruber now. Luke, if you'd like to come up to the table, name and address for the record, please, if you would.
Luke Gruber, full name Lucas Gruber, 803 North Florida Avenue, York, Nebraska.
Thank you, Luke. Luke was obviously nominated to be on the zoning committee. Luke had reached out to me first part of September, asking if there was ever a chance to be put on it. He would sure be interested. He caught me somewhere in between Curtis and Cambridge, I believe, that afternoon on a little bit of a ride. And as I came back and investigated it, we realized that all of them needed to be replaced, and of course we took care of the other 4 last time. So, and there was a need to have Mr. Gruber come in. He graciously said he would today. So he's here to ask to be put on that board. And that board, as we just heard, is having a meeting, so that car is already going 60 miles down the road, and you're gonna have to catch up by the 13th, you know, so, yeah, if so approved. So any questions of Luke this morning?
Well, it's nice to meet you and glad you are willing to do it.
Yeah.
And you want to be on the zoning board because?
I want to get involved in community. It's strictly out of the will of wanting to be involved. I can answer any questions. I know my career was brought up. I'd gladly answer any of those questions if you guys do have any. I went through the same process with getting a conditional use for where I'm building my new home. And I was kind of hoping maybe I could be an asset to the zoning committee to kind of help it streamline more. I know I had to jump through a lot of loops and stuff, so I thought maybe having someone on there that could help read into like all the regulations and stuff, I thought it'd be a good thing for me to get involved in.
Yeah, I think it's good to have interest. It's hard to find people to serve on some of these boards sometimes, so thanks for your interest. Obviously there's lots of stuff going on that you're aware of. We're also going to be looking in the near future, more than likely during your term on this board, revising or updating anyway the comprehensive plan. So having somebody that's willing to dive in and look at those regulations. I guess, there was some questions on where you work and how that would tie into your involvement in this board and some of the things that are coming up. I think it's, for me, when we're involved in the community and when we have a position on a board, it's important to take a look at the how this affects everybody, not just one certain opinion or my own personal opinion. And so I would just, based on what you've already said, it appears that you just want to be able to be involved in the community and help drive York County forward. Do you see that when tasked with making those decisions, there's no certain personal agenda or anything? It's more just how the decisions that you make affect everybody in the county, and so we want to be able to make sure that the decisions that we're making are, just weighing that on how they affect, are they good, are they bad for the community as a whole? So I guess, would you agree with that statement that we want to be able to look on this board, on planning and zoning board, we want to make sure that the decisions that we're making are for the betterment of the whole county. And do you feel that you can make those decisions for I'm not phrasing my question the way I want to, but
No, I will say I have no personal agenda. I really have none. This was strictly out of wanting to be involved and for the betterment of York County. My company that I work for at this point has no involvement in the solar field.
Yep.
I know that was a lot of the raise of concern for this. We have no say in any of that. We're staying out of it at this point, and this was strictly to get involved. It was geared more towards when I went through my conditional use permit for my own personal residence. That has nothing to do with my career. There's no career agenda or personal agenda.
And no ties to previous employers or anything?
No, and I know that was brought up, my former general manager. I was a lineman when he was a general manager at Perennial, so I didn't have much communication with him to begin with. I didn't receive my role that I have now until after he had already retired. I haven't had any contact with him since he was employed at Perennial. I haven't talked to him since, so I'm not quite sure. I was kind of shocked when I heard that comment too. I was like, oh, I didn't know that either.
I've had a phone conversation with Luke since the last board meeting, and this conversation today is consistent with what I had on that phone conversation. It's healthy when we start getting young people. I assume he's younger than me almost, and so, you know, but it's healthy to get young people involved in the governmental process, and appreciate that, and appreciate you feeling like I want to contribute to the county rather than letting somebody else do it. So appreciate your willingness to get involved in it.
Thank you.
It can be contentious, you know, coming up, so we don't want winners and losers. We'd like it to be a unified community, but at the same time, we want to recognize the needs of each individual too.
I know there was some question on whether or not it was right to have you come here where not everybody that gets appointed to a board has had to sit in that position, but I appreciate you being willing to come in and talk to us. I would make a motion that we approve Luke Gruber, or appoint Luke Gruber to the Planning and Zoning Committee for a 3-year term.
Thank you, Daniel. We have a second. Any other discussion?
I would just make a comment, you know, it's not up to us to decide what his conditions are to get on the board, because not everybody's a yes man. Not everybody has to agree with everybody else. If he's got an opposite opinion of something, that's what he's on the board for, is to express that. So I don't have any objection at all.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Are we gonna use the same dates as?
Yes. Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
And Overmeyer.
Yes. Luke, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the commitment to York County over the next 3 years.
No, thank
And
you.
hopefully it's just a stepping stone, and there's seats up here that will always be available in the future.
Maybe someday.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll jump back, and there are no funding transfers that I'm aware of. Next up is discuss an act on designating commissioner to authorize NACO conference voting and a designee vote her. This is like at the NERMA, they have a business meeting at the end, and to vote, they would like to know who's going to do it, and if that person is not there, who would be our second to be able to cast that vote. It will be my plans, unless something goes really array, to be at the convention and to be for that final day. So I would be willing to be that, and then I don't know who would be possible second. I don't know.
That's December 10, something like that.
13.
Sounds like,
14th and 15th.
so it'd be Thursday, well, yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Celebrate your birthday there.
So we just need to get this turned into them by December 8th, but we'll just get it on, it's on the agenda today, just get it done, so.
13, 14, 15, I think
I got you.
I will plan to be there as well, but if we want to put Randy as number 1, if we want to put Woody as number 2, that's perfectly fine. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Daniel.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Gross.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Overmeyer.
Yes.
And Bear.
Yes.
Okay, next up, we need to discuss and act on year-end certification, county highway superintendent for determining incentive pay. Harv, you got anything to say?
I was here. I done my job. You should get paid. How's that?
There
Sounds
we
good
go.
to me.
talked about a license in that document. So what process is involved in you getting a highway superintendent kind of license? What, do you have to take classes, or what goes on to get you?
Yes, they have classes that you go to. They have a test that you have to pass. And then if you study hard enough and pass the test, you can be a highway superintendent. So yes.
I saw you at Nerma doing another session on obstacles, for road obstacles and stuff.
Yes.
Do you get hours of credit that go back to that license with those kind of
Yes.
experiences?
Yes, yes, they are. They're continuing ed or professional development hours, either way. But yes, you have to have so many a year to keep your license.
Do we have anybody else in the roads department that are working towards a licensing grade?
We have-
In that direction, or?
We have one that has his license, and then I haven't got a lot of interest of other people wanting at this point in time.
And besides you, one more?
Yes.
Thank you.
So this is just a normal year-end thing? And this is by resolution?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Any other questions of Harv while he's here? Okay, we need a motion by resolution.
I move resolution, we accept the, whatever this is.
Signing the year-end
Certification of County Highway
certificate.
Superintendent.
Thank you, Stan.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
It does talk about state DOT giving us funding for this. Is it just authorization that we as a county pay Harvey, or is there something, is there a bonus or something for having somebody certified like this and approved by the board? What's the incentive for doing this?
We have to have somebody certified to receive funding, right?
Yes. And where you have me hired as your highway superintendent, I think it is $9,750 that they pay for me being a Class A highway superintendent on staff.
Because it didn't say anything about what the funding is that comes back. It just had 3 classes or 4 classes of funding reimbursement, but, okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Roll call?
Bear,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Over.
Yes.
Do you need all of our signatures or?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, next up, before we get into our executive sessions, will be the discuss and act on workforce housing contribution. Lisa is here with YCDC. I assume you're gonna make somewhat of a little presentation.
I basically want to talk, I didn't bring a PowerPoint.
Can you talk?
What?
Yeah, oh, as you sounded like you're a little scratchy.
Yeah, I am,
Okay,
but much better than a week ago.
all right.
Okay, good morning, commissioners. Thank you for inviting me. Lisa Hurley, York County Development Corporation, 601 North Lincoln Avenue. I want to thank you for inviting me in today, and I want to thank you, Daniel, for coming up with this idea. It's always nice when it's not my idea. Housing remains a priority in York County. We are working with all the counties, all the communities across the county on potential projects. We are working to address the 542 new housing units needed in York County by 2030. And we recently received, back in May, a rural workforce housing grant for $1 million, which will most likely be loaned out for a new subdivision of smaller houses. I am still waiting for the application from the developer on that. During the fundraising process for that, we had to match it 50% in order to keep that $1 million. We had 36 companies and individuals and the city of York contribute $543,260. We needed $50 or $500,000. And to me, this shows that the community, especially the business community, but even individuals, are seeing that there is a shortage of a variety of affordable housing in York County. And this is, some of you may not know, this is the second time our business community and our individuals have stepped up for this program. That one, we had 29 donations and we raised $257,000. With the 2 grants, we have a revolving loan focused on housing growth of over $2 million. And that's money that will revolve in York County for housing for decades to come, as long as housing's a priority. Over 800,000 is tied up in an apartment complex, so that's a slow return. Our goals moving forward is more short-term loans to bring as many units onto the market as we can. Because we want to flip the houses faster. We have also been able to connect and advocate for additional programs in York County, such as the owner-occupied housing funds, for which the county was an applicant for. And I know that's getting close to wrapping up. We have also worked with several of the communities on utilizing TIF. The subdivision in Henderson, that was 7 acres and 13 houses. The city was the developer and utilized TIF, and that TIF is already paid off because of the housing valuation. Our first rural workforce housing fund was very successful, with subs from throughout the county being utilized on the project. In fact, the developer told me that he had never worked with as many local subs in a community, and that is something that we push when we're working with a developer. We want to use as many of our local subs as possible to keep as much as that money circulating here. We had just approved our first reuse project, which is a major purchase, a major renovation. And according to our guidelines, a major renovation is over 50% of the value, after value of the house is rehab. It's a house that you can save, but is kind of on the verge. YCDC has spent a lot of time in our smaller communities trying to get other projects moving. We have to be more creative because it's harder to get a developer into the smaller communities. I can tell you we have 2 potential projects in Bradshaw. One of them is a complete new subdivision, and we're having a heck of a time finding a developer. So we have to incentivize the developer in order to do that. We have potential infill lots in Gresham and Waco. We've had a lot of conversations in Gresham regarding cleaning up some of the lots and building some new houses on them. And these funds could be used for subdivision projects for spec houses in McCool Junction in the city of Henderson. They have the infrastructure figured out, but it will be the building of the housing. We've also supported Henderson's new subdivision efforts with inclusion in the Southeast Nebraska Affordable Housing Council's Rural Workforce Housing application and award. So they have actually picked out their first house that will be built in Henderson. And I have visited with both the mayor and the clerk there, and they know they'll be able to utilize YCDC's funds, any of them, for the rural workforce housing, in addition to SENS funds. State guidelines in the YCDC plan allow new owner-occupied housing cost of no more than $325,000. We're aiming below that, but that's what the state guidelines allow, and that's without lot cost. New rental housing costs of no more than $250,000 per door. Owner-occupied or rental housing units for which the cost to substantially rehab exceeds 50% of a unit's assessed value. Upper story housing in the rehab conversion of an existing building into housing. Not quite sure where that will happen. I don't have one identified, but it is something that is identified that could happen in the county in the future. So the newest application was released about the time we finished fundraising. And at our executive committee, we were talking about it, and they lowered the match to 25% instead of the 50% that we were at before. If the county would contribute $56,740, potentially from the inheritance fund, I mean, that's up to you guys where it comes from. That would get us up to $100,000, which then we could request $400,000. And if awarded, we would have another $500,000 to stimulate housing development in York County. We can always ask for more. Randy threw that one out to me. The application is due December 7th. I have submitted a letter of intent because we're past that deadline. Doesn't mean we have to apply. We have, as an executive committee, YCDC decided we're not doing additional fundraising from the business community. They have already put almost $800,000 towards housing, and that's not the cost that some of them have put into projects. These are projects that are going to increase property tax valuation. It's going to help our businesses bring in employees. We still have employees walking away because of housing options that they're looking at, and childcare, to be honest. Those are the number 2 concerns from our businesses and our VREs, is the variety of housing types and the ones that don't need a lot of work. So what do you have for questions?
Explain a normal $325,000 house that somebody wants to build. As you've touched on, this is not a grant because it's a revolving, it gets paid back. So developer A or whoever decides to build this $325,000 house in Benedict, Nebraska. Once the house is totally constructed, that money is paid back
when it sells.
When they acquire the funding or something like that. So it's not like it's stuck out there in limbo for 20 years.
No.
It's when it sells.
And that was the decision I made. When we applied for the first one, the county was in desperate need for apartments. We still need housing, or apartments, we need rental, we need townhomes that people can go in and rent. The $325,000, unfortunately, because of increased costs, are going to be smaller units. We are working with one that thinks he can get some small, maybe some 2 bedrooms, with a non-finished basement for under 300, maybe in that 250 range. One of the reasons I'm glad we allowed the major renovation is because the one that we just approved will sell for about $170,000. And that's a perfect rate. But the goal is as many houses as possible. You're not gonna end up with a custom home with granite, or quartz, countertops. You're not gonna end up, it kills me, $325,000 is considered an entry level now. Majority of our families cannot afford that. So we have to figure out a way of buying it down. Low interest is one of the ways to do that. Communities owning property and putting in infrastructure is another way of doing that as well. Doing infill lots. But the contractors themselves are saying it's very, very difficult to build for under $325,000.
And when we're talking about rural housing, we're still talking about being involved in a community.
Yes.
So it's not like, when I think rural, it's rural, but this is rural housing in one of our 9
One of-
communities we
yes.
have in this county. And this is, as we just said, anywhere in this county.
Mhm.
You know, so it's not just the city of York.
No.
It can be Thayer, it can be Lushton, it can be any one of our communities.
What I need is an application filled out. We need a contractor involved. A village, a city could be the applicant. Like in Henderson right now, they're the applicant, they're the developer, but SEND Contracting, which is an arm of SEND, I know you guys are all familiar with SEND, is the general contractor. So we have to have a contractor involved, and because we have to have inspections, we need to make sure it's up to code.
Any questions of Lisa? I guess the last one, you know, involves you because now, I used to be on the executive committee, now you are. I had a question of her is, okay, who is in control of this money? You know, currently there's 1.5 million and possibly more. Well, the exec committee, the YCDC exec committee, which we have a seat on, is in control of the money. The other one that came to mind was, you know, right now interest rates are very lucrative. A lot better than they were just a few years ago. Who gets that? You know, where does that money go? And your answer was the interest can be used for
Yep, the only.
like functioning operational.
For housing assistance, so the interest of the money can be used for us to extra on closing. It can be used for our time to put in the closing. The state statute does not allow any of the grant money or matching funds to be used for administration. So the administration comes out of the admin, and there is a lot of administration on this.
Any other questions?
Couple questions that I have. So like we're talking about $325,000 house. This wouldn't necessarily be to fund the whole project. It would be, you know, the applicant would come in and say, hey, I need 100,000 to keep this project moving forward.
Yes.
So it's not like this whole fund of 500,000 would go to funding one house.
No,
or 1.5 houses. Or
that
whatever.
developer's going to have money at the table.
Right. Yep.
Absolutely.
One of the other questions, I don't remember exactly where when you were talking, but it just popped a question. What happens to the funds in the future? Does the state have, so they award us, 400,000. Do they have, I mean, they always have clause in it, but, will they be able to
No.
claw it back at any point in time and say, you know what, by the way, now this is back to us?
We do our reporting to the state on our projects for 5 years.
Okay.
We have a board-approved investment plan that guides our activities. But we always have to stick to the state statutes. But after 5 years, they won't come in and monitor us. So, but the funds will stay here and just continue. The guidelines technically allow us to grant if there was a very high demand project where we had to. I don't believe our executive committee or myself have any intention of doing that at this time. And what's gonna happen in 10 years? I don't know.
Right.
It's hard, it's hard to predict 10, 20 years out. We just lay the groundwork as best as we can. But it will continue to revolve.
And so then, like you said, we don't have a crystal ball for 10, 15, 20 years down the road, but hypothetical, let's say housing isn't an issue in 20 years, then this fund would just kind of sit there till it was an issue again, or what do you envision that happening?
In 20 years, if that was the case, which I really don't see it being the case because we've had the issue
Right.
Since for at least 20 years. We still haven't caught up from 2008 on building the number of houses we were building
Sure.
back then. But the board of directors could say this is a higher priority for the county let's move some of the funds over.
But it still stays within the county.
Yes, yes, it still stays within the county. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see a point right now. Like I said, I don't know what 20 years is gonna bring, but I don't see a point right now where it would be granted.
Right.
Unless we would decide to do some developer, costs, but none of the communities have developer fees. So we don't have to worry about waiving the developer fees right now.
So if someone would want to purchase one of these houses, would there be an interest break or would they have to go to get regular interest rate?
They would have to go get their regular, but the price of the house should be cheaper because the construction interest is lower.
And that's a
Yeah.
problem right now, with the high interest rates to buy
Mhm.
out.
Our plan does allow down payment assistance. I don't see that being utilized for quite a while. But our plan does allow down payment assistance, which then could give a blended interest rate. But right now, we've got to create the units. We have, I look every month at AnyWorks, and we have between 400 and 600 jobs open in the county every month. I mean, we don't have that number of housing. Not everybody wants to buy, not everybody wants to rent, not everybody that's renting wants to rent an apartment. Some of them want to rent a condo, or it's the variety of housing that is a part of the issue, but it's also the affordability. Most of what's been built has been custom. Because if it's not subsidized somehow, it has to be custom. The contractors are making so much more money, which is a good business model for them.
Just out of curiosity, do you know how many houses in York, the city of York, are up for rent now or sale now?
I did not look this morning or yesterday. The last time I looked, we had 30.
30?
30 in the county.
Are these all
And-
new, fairly new, or are they
No.
all old?
Majority of them were
Need
for under
rehab.
100. And, anything at that range is gonna need, yeah, it's gonna need work. And if you have a young professional coming in, they may not wanna do that work, or if you have a single teacher coming in, or a nurse. Some people, I'm working on my third house, and I'm still working on it 10 years later, but my husband and I have no problem digging in. Some people don't have the skills, because they never learned the skills to rehab a house. So those fixer-uppers, wonderful. You've got to have somebody that can see the vision. Yeah, but last time I looked, we had 30 in the county, and probably 20 of them were under 100,000. And you don't get much for under 100,000 anymore.
You don't get much for 200,000 either.
No, you don't. I wasn't gonna say that, but yeah, you don't.
So, I assume if this board decides to move forward, we would have some sort of contingency that, we would apply, and if we were granted, then we would disperse
Yep.
make the match.
I would need like a letter or memo or something, resolution that you guys are contributing if the grant is awarded. And then we have 60 days for me to prove to the state the money's in that account.
I see, sure.
So once it's awarded, and I get the contract signed with DED, and then you guys would just cut the check and I would do the request.
Right.
And then a marketing campaign.
If it's not awarded, then the money comes back or never gets transferred.
Yeah, if it's not awarded, the money's not transferred. The state is working really hard. They have $6.7 million left. And they are working really hard to get that allocated. So it may be a competitive cycle, because they're encouraging people. Because if there's money still left in there when session starts, the governor is not going to put more money in this program.
Sure. And,
Maybe not quote me on that. I don't want the governor to think I'm talking bad, but it's reality. He's not, if there's money in programs, he's
sure.
gonna use it elsewhere.
I know that, and admittedly, I haven't read the resolution completely. I know the city did some sort of resolution with, by CDC on their contribution. We probably would, if we decide to make contribution, I would assume we'd want something similar to that.
Randy, you have that resolution,
I have it
right?
right in front of me here, yeah, it's very brief.
It is very brief. And they had to use for the administration of the program, because that was their legal advice. Where you guys, I'm gonna make the assumption where it's not in budget, you would probably pull it from inheritance fund. That's scary if that's how you guys would have to work that.
Right. For me, I think that would be the smartest place to take it. I also see it, I think that's if we were to put money into a program like this, I think it's a smart place to bring it out of. This inheritance fund being one that people have paid into on assets that have been passed around. This is a program trying to build assets in the county. So to me, it makes a smart place to use that money.
It's where you pulled the 50,000 for the owner occupied rehab from. So you have precedents.
Yeah, we have a couple funds that we could use, but ARPA, whenever we give that money away, then we have to follow that money, and that doesn't seem to be an appropriate.
We can't use our fund.
Can't use it anyway, okay.
We can't match rural workforce funds with any federal funding.
So, inheritance would be the ticket, especially this time of year. As Lisa alluded to, we did have a conversation earlier, and I know that the conversation involved, talking with other communities. I asked where other communities were at. Well, they're as strapped as they can be too. So I look at it as this being a county-wide, that this county would be making the contribution for all those communities. And, realizing that a couple of them, it's probably kind of a stretch to think that may happen, but it doesn't mean it couldn't happen. And so, yes, when she threw out a figure and I did throw out a larger figure to maximize as much as we possibly could. The figure I threw out was if we was to contribute 100,000 and we look at 9 communities, we're looking at just a little over a $10,000 contribution per community. This is, it appears to be a good program. Personally, myself, probation gets on the phone with me quite a bit. They've got a probation officer looking for a home that's coming this way from either Grand Island or Kearney, and they can't find what they want to live in. As she stated, there's a lot of places that are for sale. I had one next door to me, went up one week, and 2 weeks later, the sign's down and gone. Because they go that quick. I assume there's a list that people get on that they just get gobbled up, and it's tough for people to get into our communities. And this is just a tool that we can use to alleviate some of that.
And as soon as somebody gives their notice, people are reaching out to them. A lot of the houses aren't even hitting the market. Because, my neighbors are a prime example. The day he got his notice, they had 3 people call in to look at their house. And that was just before the end of the day. So, yes, you're absolutely right, Randy.
So this would be something that obviously we're on the agenda as discuss and act today. We can decide today. We do have a little bit of time because it is December 7th, I believe you said. We'll have a couple meetings before then if you guys want to ponder it a little bit more and ask more questions. I mean, we sure can. It's up to you.
I did have a comments after the last grant process from small town people saying, well, that money went to York and the previous money went to York. I hope it'll go to the real little towns in the future. So this sounds like that's what the intent of this grant application is.
I am doing my best. They have to submit the application though.
I'll be in touch with these people and say, hey, you gotta do this, you know, now you gotta put up, it's time to, you know,
Yeah.
get involved too. But it is seed money for the county. And
It
so
is seed
talking
money for
about
the county.
taking inheritance fund money to seed the opportunity to grow the community, I think is
Yeah.
really wise.
And
And you
Brad,
talk about housing shortage since '08. When I first came to York in '74, there wasn't any housing either. NPPD Operations Center opened up and there was no housing. So it's an issue that will continue to go and we need to address it.
I'm not worried about 20 years from now. If we continue to do our jobs right, I mean, family size, just to maintain our population, we have to be building houses because family sizes are getting smaller. Less families are having kids. So just to maintain our population and potentially keep our seniors here instead of going into Lincoln, we have to build houses. So.
I think it's something we could, I mean, I'm on board with making some sort of contribution. What that number is, so you have over the top of your last contribution, you have 43,300 or something.
Okay, let me find that in here. $43,260. And this county is incredible that we not only raised the 500 that a lot of people thought we would not be able to do in a month and a half, but we exceeded it. We have an incredible county.
And so you know that the city's was $250,000, $250,000 was their donation. Well, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna haggle, but I'll just throw a motion out there, we'll see where it goes. I make a motion that we, spend $100,000 out of inheritance to go for this funding, this application that needs to be in by December 7th.
How much was that?
100,000.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jack. Any other discussion?
So let's see, 143, 260, and you can, so you'd end up with a fund of 716,300 if my math is correct.
On top of what it would add to that other fund. It wouldn't be two separate funds, it'd be add to it.
Well, it would be in our bank separate funds.
Okay.
Overall financials, you'd see the bottom line. But we keep the grants because of auditing purposes and its own bank account.
Is there any other discussion?
So if you have more in this seed money that we're talking about, do you apply for more then, a bigger grant?
Yeah, we can apply for 5 million if we want. I don't know if anyone will get 5 million, but.
Two questions. I think I know the answer probably to both of them, but we'll see if my thoughts are equaling your thoughts. One, you don't see any problem. I mean, the funds will get utilized.
Yes.
There's no the needs out there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's 500, if it's 700, if it's $1 million,
We'll
the
use
funds
it.
are going to get used up.
Mhm.
Now, my second question is, do you see, as far as the application, if we go in and apply for 400 versus 600, do you see that application being any approved or denied any differently?
I know that DED wants to do larger amounts, so they have fewer to administer. Because they don't get any administration off of this one either. But they did the 25% match, so some of the smaller communities could go after. So I think it's gonna go a lot to what we have accomplished in that we have successfully administered the program already. I don't think there's gonna be if it's 500 or 700, I mean, the worst they can do if it's 700, come back and say we can get 500 because they're trying to get so many communities. Their concern is the 6.7 million gets allocated before session.
Right.
Because they plan on going after more funding, and there may be some bills that reduce some of the regulation as well. Now, whether those bills go anywhere or not, I'm just talking from going to Housing Coalition meetings and the economic development meetings. They're trying to make the program easier to use, especially for the smaller communities.
Is there any other discussion?
Sorry, one more.
That's fine.
So just, you said, that they might come back with a, say, hey, we'll give you 500 or whatever it is that we're, so then would we, where I'm going is if we approve this motion, do we need it in there that we'd be up to, just saying, okay, they come back and say, we're gonna, or I guess then you just have more money in that fund. It just wouldn't be quote 25% of what the state gave us, I guess.
That's what we did on round one in 2018. DOD actually, we had requested 500 and we got 387, I think. And they said, the extra you can consider unrestricted, but we put it towards the project. So that's what we would do unless you guys wanted to only release the amount.
Right.
The last two cycles, they haven't done that, but the first cycle they did. So you never know.
Right.
You got just one more?
No, I'm just trying to think on the amount that we want to approve.
You guys don't, well, Jack, Randy, and Daniel know me well enough to know I'm not gonna turn away money. When we get more, it just allows us to ask for more and have more of an impact. I am very pleased with the 100 that Randy threw out.
Roll call.
Overmer,
Yes.
Sykes,
Yes.
Ziegler,
Yes.
Bear,
Yes.
and Gross.
Yes.
Thank you.
So if there's anything we need to sign or whatever.
I'll get that to you.
And then encourage, keep, one, I would ask is to continue to reach out. I know Woody's gonna do it, for the fear that they're concerned that it just happens in York. We want it to be York County. We want to see the Wacos, we want to see the Greshams, the Benedicts, the Bradshaws, the McCools, the Andersons, all involved, Lushton and
I think we're close.
Thayer
on-
also.
I think we're close on Bradshaw.
Good.
Waco, it will be infill. Because the subdivision that they have, the requirements they have, we can't bill the 325.
Well, infill's fine too.
Infill is fabulous, and that's what it will be in Gresham. I'm just hoping the lady I've been talking about too, that has 2 lots, will go this way. So we're doing our best.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you.
You bet.
Sorry, do we want,
One more.
just on, did we need anything in there about where the funds were gonna come from? I just thought about that.
Inheritance.
You got it, okay, very good, perfect.
Okay, so, what's left on the, agenda is we do have 2 separate executive sessions and legally, that's the way we have to take them. And then we will have our committee reports after that. So at this point in time, I would ask that we go into executive session at 9:35. And this is to discuss with our attorneys, if they would stay in here, please, a court case. So at 9:35, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Rose.
Yes.
Bear.
Yes.
Ziegler.
Yes.
Sykes.
Yes.
Yes. Would you get a hold of this? This shouldn't take 45.